and then we'll get started. I have a lot of stuff to cover today and not a whole lot of time. Getting started here, we are still COVID testing every other Tuesday for long-term care. We're really excited that the positivity rate in Kentucky is down. As of 3/1, I'm sorry, I actually checked that this morning. It is 12%, which is phenomenal. First time we've been below 15 in quite some time. And then the Centers for Medicaid Services positivity rate for our county is still 9.9, which is still very low and good. We're only testing our residents right now in-house for probable cause. Since we have opened up for visitation, this will probably increase, but we haven't had to yet, thank goodness. We are really excited to be doing indoor visits. The first week has gone pretty smoothly. I would like to remind everybody to make sure to schedule your visits. That way we can accommodate everyone. If you just drop by, then we really can't guarantee that we'll be able to squeeze you in, because we do have to continue to do these in a designated area or on the front porch, and our porch is only so big. So make sure that you call before your visit. They have not changed the needs, or I'm sorry, the regulations for who can visit. So visitors to Arcadian must have a vaccination of at least 14 days ago, but no longer than 3 months ago, and a negative COVID-19 test result within the last 3 days. So be prepared to share those with us. But we were able to implement last week that we can do the COVID testing in-house. I think I have that slide on here as well. But the sessions indoors can still only include 1 visitor at a time, or 2 visitors that live in the same dwelling to come by. Visitors and residents still must continue to exercise social distancing during their visits and wear their appropriate PPE. This does include outdoor visits on the porch. I know the weather's really nice and folks want to take their masks off, but we do need to continue to practice appropriate PPE when we are with our vulnerable population. And then I did mention that we were able to implement the opportunity to receive COVID tests at Arcadian Cove prior to the visits with your loved ones. These results take 15 minutes, so make sure you arrive early for your scheduled appointment. Otherwise, it starts cutting into your visitation time. We are doing these with a nasal swab, and we actually instruct you on how to swab yourself. So there's no question of if we went too far up into your nose or anything like that. So just make sure that you arrive early for your appointment if you need to get a COVID test here. And do understand that if you were to receive a positive test from here, we do have to share your demographics with the health department. And we do strongly suggest, as the CDC and the CHFS requests, that you follow that up with a lab test and follow the appropriate guidance for appropriate guidance for not social distancing, but for quarantine. Nothing new has come down as of today for outings with loved ones. It is still the same as it was. And I do want to mention today to remember to please call to schedule your transportation needs for your loved ones as quickly as you can. This medical transportation is a first come, first serve scenario. We have lots of residents that we need to provide transportation for at this time due to the COVID guidance, and everybody is important and every appointment is important. So we can't guarantee transportation for everybody just on a whim. So make sure you call us as early as you can to get your loved one's appointments on our schedule. And please do remember that your loved one's appointments are yours and your loved one's responsibility to make. Once you make the appointment, if we need to try to make arrangements to transport your loved one, then you can give the doctor permission, but we cannot call and make those appointments for your loved ones. That has to be done by a power of attorney or a medical surrogate. I did want to outline today, we've had lots of questions about why does the CDC, why is it on the news that the CDC says that we can all be outside without our masks on as long as we've all been vaccinated. So I just wanted to outline the steps that Arcadian has to go through in order to implement new guidance. So the CDC comes out with new guidance for the general population. This is what you usually see on the news within 1 to 2 days after they've substantiated their claim. Then the Kentucky State Cabinet for Health and Family Services revises their guidance, the CDC's guidance, based on special populations such as folks who live in long-term care, the elderly, people with comorbidities, and things like that. And then the Department for Aging and Independent Living, which we call DAIL, is the body that governs and regulates Arcadian Cove and all the other assisted livings in Kentucky. They revised the CHFS guidance specifically for assisted living communities. And once those 3 steps have happened, the guidance finally trickles down to us at the community level. Arcadian Cove has to write a preparedness and protocol plan. This plan has to be approved by Jaybird Senior Living. The approval is based on our specific community's ability to execute the plan, with the health and welfare of our residents as the most important aspect. So it's based on our staffing, it's based on our resources such as PPE, appropriate designated visitation areas, appropriate abilities to sanitize our transportation, sanitize our designated visiting areas, and to test our residents and our staff members and our visitors and things like that. So it's really, it takes a lot more time than just hearing it on the news and being able to do something. So we've had quite a few calls this past week after the CDC came out with the new recommendation that as long as everybody that is gathering together has been vaccinated, you guys can hang out without your masks. That does not apply to special populations such as our vulnerable elders that we are serving here at Arcadian Cove. So I just wanted to outline the process and remind you guys that we appreciate your patience while we go through this protocol plan writing process and all of these seemingly lengthy steps. Nothing has changed as far as the travel advisory goes since December the 14th, so that is still exactly the same as it was last week. And I wanted to mention also that we are still working very hard to keep your loved ones safe. We're not out of the woods yet. There's still those new variants and new strains of COVID-19. I think it's the 117 or 1117 strain spreads a lot more rapidly, a lot more quickly than the previous strain that we've been dealing with for the past year. It does not seem to be any more detrimental to the health than the original COVID-19, but it does spread more rapidly. So we are still taking all the regular precautions of sanitizing all of the items that come in the door, screening our visitors, now the COVID testing since we can do in-house visitation. So just want to remind everybody that we are working really hard to keep your loved ones safe. I'm not sure if it's the weather or the moon phase or something with the tide, but unfortunately we've received several calls this week from family members who were less than happy and a little bit challenging to communicate with. And I just want to say that please understand that there's a lot of guidance coming down at us at a rapid rate, a lot of steps that we have to go through, and we don't always have our ducks in a row, unfortunately. We work really hard to do that, but all of this is still uncharted territory. Some of the regulations and the guidance that comes down doesn't make any sense to us, just like it doesn't make any sense to you guys, but we have to follow what is given to us in order to remain in compliance with our governing bodies, our state agencies, and to make sure that your loved ones are kept safe from this pandemic. Hopefully there is some light at the end of the tunnel. We are still keeping our fingers crossed that maybe this spring or early summer we'll get to have a party with everybody of some sort and be able to be together, and for you guys to be able to, visit your loved ones in their apartments. But that time isn't yet. So please continue to have patience with us. We really appreciate it. My staff really appreciates it. And just a good rule of thumb, my grandma always said, you catch more flies with honey. So we do appreciate your patience and your kindness during this time. And that's about all I have for today. Please just make sure that you call us to schedule your hours between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. to schedule your visits. If you need to visit after 4 p.m., we can usually accommodate that as well. But there's someone usually there next to the schedule from 10 to 4 that can help us make sure that we don't double book anybody and make sure that the appointment time you need and desire is readily available. So at this time, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and open it up for questions. Miss Susan, do you have any questions?
Unmute. Okay. Have to find the right button. You know how that goes, right?
Sometimes. Yeah.
Since it's me, I have a couple questions. First of all, I live out of state. At this moment, I love the ladder decor. I truly do.
Oh, thank you. It's my color, right?
You know, if you put a couple plants on there, it would really look kind of like it belonged there.
I think so too. I do. I'm painting. I don't know if you knew we had a flood back in February of last year. It was a strange, crazy, isolated incident, thank goodness. And it ruined the flooring in several locations, including my office and Sherry's office, the culinary director. And then a couple other areas. So a couple other areas were more important and they got their flooring replaced a lot quicker. But now that we're getting new flooring, we just decided we were going to paint too. Unfortunately, we have to do the work ourselves if we want to remodel. So that's kind of what we're doing. That's why we have a ladder.
Okay, no, it's perfectly fine. You know, stranger things I've seen.
Thank you.
Anyway, I live out of state.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to be honest with you, we're not planning a trip right now. My husband has just started chemotherapy. This is not a time for us to be traveling. We have just mammoth things going on in our family. So, but at any rate, my mom seems to be doing okay. So I'm just like, okay, this is the best I can do for you.
Right.
But would I have to quarantine coming from Illinois to Kentucky? And just to let you know, I am fully vaccinated.
Okay.
As of today.
I think that helps, and that's wonderful. I'm really glad to hear that you participated in that, and hopefully everything will go smoothly for you. So the advisory, the travel advisory from the state does say that you should participate in a voluntary 14-day quarantine. Our guidance from Dale does not mention a quarantine period. So unless it doesn't mention a quarantine period for visitors, I should say. What the quarantine periods for our residents are if they go to the doctor and they don't use our transportation. Which it's a convoluted, unfortunately, a convoluted guidance, and it doesn't make any sense, but we do have to follow it. But so as far as visitors go, we haven't seen what a vaccinated or unvaccinated visitor from out of state looks like just yet. I can certainly ask our infection control specialist, since you have been vaccinated, and I do believe your mom has been vaccinated, Miss Margaret. Yes. So it should be fine as long as we can COVID test you, but don't quote me on that. Let me ask the powers that be about that before we say yes or no. I
just thought I'd ask, you know, it probably wouldn't be till this summer at the earliest that we would be undertaking some kind of trip like that, because there's hotels and eating out, and I mean, that's a whole nother thing, and I do need to be really careful with my husband, even though he is fully vaccinated also. So we got lucky.
That's really wonderful. Yeah. And I hope that everything goes well with his chemo and his recovery. We'll be praying for you guys.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. You guys have been very, very kind. The other thing I asked, and I think I'm just not understanding it. You've got this 90-day thing with the vaccinations. Does that mean after 90 days, they're not accepting them?
So we kind of went through this last time too. We've had a lot of questions about that. That's okay. I don't fully understand it either, but so we have this roundtable discussion with the state every Tuesday, and so it's not the Cabinet of Health and Family Services. It's actually an association for long-term care communities. And so we talk with them every Tuesday, and then they talk with the CDC and the CHFS on our behalf. So what we're understanding is that they're calling this 90 days more of a buffer zone. because they just don't have that clinical data yet past the 90 days. They don't have it confirmed, the efficacy as far as days 91 plus go. They're still actively studying. Most of us, as we jokingly said last week, we're all kind of guinea pigs here for this scenario, I think. But the clinical data isn't solid enough for them to say, hey, it works, for 120 days, or it works for 180 days. So we're just kind of, tiptoeing around that, and just saying that we feel like they're giving us a buffer zone to start with.
Because I'm just thinking, I don't think they're going to be too thrilled about giving us all new vaccines.
I don't think so either, and I don't think any of us are going to be thrilled about getting it again, especially.
No, I don't want to get another one.
Yeah, especially me.
Yeah, I had some problems.
Really hard time with that second dose. I would do it again. Don't get me wrong. I would definitely do it again, but I don't want to. Not 1 minute.
No, it's not really very fun to do them. I mean, it's not a huge big deal, but especially though, I mean, I didn't have a really bad reactions with this vaccine, but I've had them before. And so I do understand it's not a pleasant when and you know what it's from, and it's like, this is supposed to help.
Exactly. Well, we think it is helping, but in the forefront, you're like, why did I do this? Why did I sign up for this? Yeah.
It's hard, and then other people get afraid, but
exactly.
I haven't heard of any really bad ones, from the people, and I obviously haven't in the 65 plus age group, so I have a lot of people that are, getting them, and we're doing pretty well here.
Good.
So,
Good.
And Illinois has a really low, nice positivity rate. I think we're like under 3.
Kentucky is just above 3, I think. I looked earlier, I think it might be 3.38, something like that. So it's just, we all feel like we can kind of breathe a little bit.
We do. And so that's a great thing, but I just wanted to make sure I understood that. And yes, and we did do the medical transport today, I know, with my mom. So hopefully she got where she needed to go.
She did really good with that as well. I'll put that out there. She did really good. And LaDonna went with her and said she was really impressed by the doctor. So
okay,
I'm glad to hear that it went really well.
I'm really glad. And she made her own, and because of who she is and where she is, I do allow her to do some things on her own rather than do everything. And because I said to her, I said, Mom, do you want me to call about the transportation, or can you do that? Oh, I can just go down and do that.
Yeah, okay. She did it, and that works for us as well, as long as we know ahead of time. We unfortunately had just a few mishaps recently where folks have said, oh, I thought I told you, but they didn't, and we just can't make things happen on a whim because we have folks going all over the place right now.
But I'm really glad that and I'm glad that she could kind of do that, and that she's able to do some things on her own yet. I think that's great for her her self-confidence and her self-awareness type of thing.
Exactly, and she'll continue, thriving when we lose control of ourselves. I think that's when we go into failure to thrive. So as long as you can still do certain aspects, and that's something that we try to promote here as well, is that when you can still do certain things for yourself, do them, because when you don't do them, you lose them.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I tell her, and hopefully, I mean, she's gotten through this pretty well. I'm sure everybody's had their moments when, oh my God, as we all have. So,
but most of our residents have done just, they've done really well through this. We have seen a decline in some mental aspects, but I think that's probably to be expected after what all we've had to subject them to. But we're hopeful that the sunshine and the visitation will put people back on the upswing.
Yeah, and like I said, we're hoping that we can get down there sometime in the next few months, but I don't know when that'll be. So we'll just kind of keep going as best we can.
Okay.
That's all we can do. That's all we can do.
Right. My dad says, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So that's what we'll do.
I don't know what else to say. So, and when you lose that, then I think you lose you start losing everything else. So you just have to
Yes.
kind of keep a good attitude as best you can. So,
Right.
but anyway,
Absolutely.
I appreciate all your concern, and I'm sorry it took so much of your time, but it was just you and me. So I thought, well, okay.
That's okay. And I appreciate you hopping on. And you have our number, you have our email addresses. We'll get this up on the YouTube channel. And if you have any other questions, Miss Susan, please don't hesitate to reach out.
I certainly will. I will, Chris. Thank you
Okay.
very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good afternoon.
You too.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.